Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Chuck Hayworth. Chuck Hayworth is a private chef and medical meal specialist who helps bridge the gap between clinical nutrition and exceptional food. As a founder of Real Medical Meals and the Culinary Wellness Collective, he works with physician and dietitian guidance to translate complex medical nutrition protocols into meals that are both therapeutic and deeply satisfying. With more than 2 decades of experience in professional kitchens and hospitality leadership, Chuck specializes in nutrition strategies for conditions such as autoimmune disorders, metabolic dysfunction, gut health, and chronic inflammation, while ensuring that food remains flavorful, refined, and enjoyable. A 25-year survivor of rare GIST cancer, Chuck's work is deeply personal. Drawing from his own journey, he combines resilience, research-informed nutrition, and culinary craftsmanship to help clients feel supported rather than restricted. Through private chef services, medical meal programming, and nutrition consulting, Chuck is proving that therapeutic food can be both powerful and transformative. Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I'm really, really excited and really grateful. As I've spoken to you before, I think you offer a perspective and just like awareness of an issue that I haven't been able to explore yet. So thank you for taking the time to be here. But how are you doing today?
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful spring day here in North Carolina where I live, and looks like we're making that transition.
Yeah, no, wonderful. But yeah, just to get started, you often bridge clinical dietary protocols with elevated cuisine. So for you, what does healing through food truly mean to you?
Well, I am now a 26-year rare stomach cancer survivor as of January of this year. And I got my start as a private chef working with my fellow cancer patients and their caregivers in their homes, preparing meals, anti-inflammatory meals that we could all tolerate and eat. And that just snowballed into the career that has been the last 26 years of my life, catering, working in the business, working with restaurants and consulting about healthy food and what's, anti-inflammatory foods are and how they affect their customers' health and things like that. So, it's been quite the career, and it's snowballed from not only working with cancer patients into working, as I was telling you in our pre-chat, with kidney and renal patients. I also work with diabetic patients. I work with patients that have autoimmune disease. I work with patients that have major cardiovascular issues. And the key to being a success and having a successful model in medical meals is working with a physician, dietitian, and patient aligned menu system. So all of our clients, we call them, they actually are patients of doctors and patients of dietitians that provide me with the paperwork that gives me everything that I need to know about my individual client's health. That way I can take my software that I have and generate and use my knowledge that I have to generate menus for them on a weekly basis. It's really something that is very rewarding and enjoyable. And when we have the change in season like we're having now, it's really rewarding to me to see clients start awaken from the cold of winter into the warmth of spring. And sometimes, as we were talking, you're in Southern California, I'm here in North Carolina, we had that transition all of a sudden from cold to warmth. So it's really important to work with clients and with their gut microbiome to be able to boost their immune system so as to prepare them for this seasonal transition that we're going through now from winter into spring.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. And I feel like I have so much to learn from you. I want to learn more about that. So, many people, including myself, hear the word microbiome, but don't fully understand it. So, why is gut health foundational to overall healing?
Well, gut health really, it's becoming more and more studied now. It's becoming more and more a center of overall health.
Okay.
Even though for generations, I call them the old timers here in the South,
Hmm.
but the elders who have lived the longest, that have been exposed to all different kinds of environmental factors. One key thing that they always did was they always said, you are what you eat. We've heard that expression, right? You are what you
Right.
eat. And really what that comes down to is that what we take into our bodies can both harm us, but it can also help us. And when it
Hmm.
comes to gut health and your microbiome is the living creature within your intestines that
Right.
actually helps and in some cases can hinder your health. So what we have to do is we have to focus on, in my case with my therapies that I use with my clients, it's all seasonality. So we make the transition. We talk about moving from winter to spring. We're moving
Hmm.
from those warm, familiar comfort foods
Right.
into more warmer weather, spring onion, fennel, that kind of thing that helps diversify our gut microbiome. Now, in our gut microbiome, we have a connection to most of our systems in our body, our cardiovascular system, our certainly our digestive system. And what we eat and we take into our body helps to boost our immune system. And studies are showing that it's becoming more and more important that we diversify what we eat in our diets from season to season so that we can boost our immune systems and help and assist us with inflammation associated with environmental factors, pollution, and things of that
Hmm.
nature, microplastics, the air quality, things like that in our lives that we're exposed to all the time, every day, and we kind of take for granted that we're exposed to these different things. So the microbiome is basically like the second brain of our body, in that everything that we eat, the nutrients and everything that we take into our bodies is actually used one degree or another for our nervous system, our digestive system, certainly, our cardiovascular system. Everything is affected by what we eat and what this information superhighway that is our gut microbiome in our large intestines. And it's made up of a whole bunch of different bacteria that helps to break down the nutrients in our food and also helps to break down the different fibers and things into and spread them off to the organs, to simplify this, so that they're broken down into the different nutrients that our body needs to survive, for like bone health and eye
Hmm.
health and all types of other things that we kind of take for granted come from the food that comes into our body, that we take into our body through our eating daily. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, and even even in some cases, hydration.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to talk with you more about like just the overall wellness of folks. So, how have you seen anti-inflammatory or gut restorative nutrition tangibly change someone's quality of life?
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for 28 years,
Hmm.
and I've definitely seen when you and actually, I'm writing a thesis about this now. There's actually proof now that when you change foods from season to season, when
Hmm.
you change from winter into spring, spring into summer, summer into fall, and you change with the ingredients that are available for you locally, you're actually diversifying, as we touched on gut microbiome and its importance. You're
Hmm.
actually diversifying your gut microbiome and the dietary fibers that you take into your body, which we're hearing a lot about now from the federal government saying, hey, we need more dietary fiber, we need more fruits and vegetables, we need more diversity in our diet.
Hmm.
When you change from season to season, from month to month, season to season, to what's in season for you, it leads to natural healing within your body. Your cells become healthier. Your
Hmm.
immune system, certainly we touched on that a little bit, that it becomes healthier. But more importantly, you have more energy, you have more awareness of your surroundings, and of course, when you couple that with hydration, you actually have a better quality of life overall, and your skin health is better. Your everything from your entire system, your skin, your hair. I mean, not that but I mean, this is a whole nother ball game. But but all of that is affected by what we take into our bodies. Healthier cell growth. Remember, things like cancer, autoimmune, and other things. Right. They're because their direct cause is irregular cell growth within our bodies. What causes that irregular cell growth is the different toxic things that we take into our body. In the way of food is obviously natural, a natural way to take in good bacteria, and also very, very bad things and harmful inflammatory items that we can take into our bodies through our digestive tract. And so I have, to answer your question, I've been working with people for decades. I started out with cancer patients, and we started doing a lot of the studies in the late 90s and early 2000s was all about antioxidants and how we need to be eating more berries and more fruits and diversifying the fiber in our diets. Of course, plant-based healing is part of how I wrote a book called The Chef's Recovery, and it talks about going from liquid diet to plant-based diet back to solid foods. And in that story, I curtail my story with how I was able to heal myself using traditional medicine and nutrition, naturopathic nutrition, within my own body, heal the cells of my own body. And, to date, knock on wood, I'm still here. Right. But that's just one example. There are dozens of different types of patients that when we put autoimmune disease on the table and someone tells me, hey, these are the conditions that I'm dealing with my autoimmune disease, one of the biggest things for me with clients is communication. And if they effectively communicate to me that these are the things that are causing the inflammation within their lifestyle, I'm able to coordinate meals that are anti-inflammatory, maybe not necessarily putting their autoimmune into check, but definitely not worsening the condition that is underlying harming them potentially, if not putting it into remission altogether. So food, as I said before, you are what you eat. Food is very, very important. And so many working professionals in this world, we're so used to convenience and quick service restaurants and quick service food that we don't think about what is actually what are the ingredients we're actually taking into our body that may be causing the inflammation, leading to things like autoimmune, leading to things like diabetes and cancer, rare cancers and things like that, until we have to think about them. And so I've helped dozens of folks over the years with their overall health, everything from inflammation to severe issues with kidney issues and things like that. We work on sodium intake, we work on hydration, we work on all different types of things together, along with doctors and dietitians, to really be that missing link in the healthcare chain, if you will. So, you've got the patient, you've got the doctor, you've got the dietitian, but then the dietitian hands the patient all the food orders and says, here, these are the foods you need to avoid. Here, these are the foods you should be eating. And then it's up to the patient to go home and kind of discern that information and take it and break it down. I've over the years have been that kind of bridge for my clients to kind of help them be able to dissect that information better, and then more importantly, to go shopping and pick up the groceries and do the cooking within the household to make them some of these foods that are not nearly as harmful as what's out there in restaurants or what's out there and available to the consumer that's like pre-made stuff from grocery stores and things like that.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. That's so wonderful. And, something about this podcast, I also approach it from a social justice lens. So I address issues like equity and access as well. So I know I'm also, in this mindset too, but sometimes I think like healthy food is expensive. Unhealthy food is cheaper, but more affordable. So with that, therapeutic food can sometimes feel more like a luxury than, a necessity. So with that, how do we address the equity gap in access to medically supportive nutrition?
Well, I always tell people that there is always food assistance available. So there's always going to be food assistance available.
Okay.
To one degree or another, it may change with SNAP and other issues because a lot of people have that healthcare, the burden financially of healthcare, right? So when you get a rare diagnosis, now all of a sudden, all of your financial resources are going to pay for your medical bills. But there's always availability for grants. There's always availability for from nonprofit organizations that are out there that can assist with grocery money. And more importantly, when you have a situation like this occur, there's always help in the form of your neighborhood food bank. And then if anybody ever feels like it's a huge burden, I can always create, they can contact me personally and I can create a couple grocery lists for them with their with their information. If they provide me some of their dietary information, things like that, I can always say, hey, listen, if you're not sensitive to things like legumes and gluten-free grains and things that will not cause inflammation in your body, I can always point you in the right direction towards inexpensive items in the grocery store, which a lot of people have found are actually the anti-inflammatory ingredients that are out there in the grocery stores are actually less expensive than, say, a fast food meal going to a takeout window. So, that's what I would tell folks in our society is that there is hope and there's a lot of different areas that you can go for resources. And despite, politics being politics, state governments being state governments, everybody's stretched a little bit thin with their grocery resources. There's always an inexpensive alternative. Sometimes fresh fruits and vegetables, even if they're not organic, even if they're, out of season, but they're close by. Like I'm here on the East Coast, and I can tell you that like we're starting to get fruits and vegetables from the East Coast in spring fruits and spring vegetables on the East Coast. That means less transportation costs. That means less burden financially on the consumer. So that's another financial resource that folks need to be aware of is that when you eat seasonally, you shop at your neighborhood farmer's market, or if you're not able to shop at your neighborhood farmer's market and use like SNAP benefits and things like that, if you're able to shop at your local grocery store or your local co-op store, you know that those items are grown in your community and you're able to diversify. As I said before, you're able to diversify with seasonality. You can make dishes with all different kinds of things that are in season that have not traveled as far as, say, like that wintertime tomato or that, summertime pumpkin, that kind of thing. So, seasonal eating is a great way to save money. And also, I would say, I touched on some gluten-free grains and some gluten-free items, rice, quinoa, different things like that are becoming more and more commonly found in your grocery stores are not as expensive as they were, say, decades before. When I was coming through trying to find something inexpensive for cancer therapy, plant-based, there were very few options. I had to turn to things like tofu and other things, and those are not bad. Those are very inexpensive sources of protein. But now grocery stores have dozens of options, international options. And then there's also the option of legumes. Legumes have been a very inexpensive form of protein and a very inexpensive form of dietary fiber. And so it's also great to have when you buy dry legumes and you soak them the night before, you can actually take those legumes and cook them whatever fashion you want on the stovetop. So you can make veggie burgers, you can make all kinds of different things that are not only healthy for you, but they're getting you dietary fiber at a very, very low cost financially. You're talking about $1.50 for a bag of black beans, for example, or $2.25 for a bag of lentils, which are very rich in other minerals and vitamins that we spoke about that help you diversify your gut microbiome. So it doesn't always have to be, and then you can couple that with, say, like a bell pepper and a spring onion, which you can get for a few dollars, and make your own veggie burgers that'll last you a week in the refrigerator when you make them from scratch. and they cost you a couple bucks each. That's fairly inexpensive, but solid protein, and great dietary fiber to boot, and great for the gut microbiome. Couple that with some seasonal eating. Say we're starting to get into strawberry season here on the East Coast because we're starting to move into, early season. You can get a pint of strawberries a lot less expensive moving into the spring than you can get a pint of strawberries in the middle of the winter time or the fall or or the autumn or even late summer. So taking fruits and vegetables that are at their peak that don't have to travel far or are locally grown in your community. Great way and an inexpensive way to get you the vitamins and the minerals that you need and to diversify your gut microbiome, which we've already talked about the importance of that and what that does for your body, gets you the nutrients and the minerals that you need.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. I learned so much from you. I think I just have that just thought that, it's too expensive to eat healthy. But thank you. I'm sure a lot of my listeners will also benefit when it's like, really affordable to eat healthy as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There's always inexpensive ways. Always. It's always important. I was broke. All my bills were being paid by going down to the hospital and paying for my cancer bills. So I had to kind of find creative ways, and I worked in food service, so it was an inexpensive way for me to be able to begin healing my body by eating plant-based and things like legumes and previously mentioned vegetables and fruits.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Actually, I wanted to talk more about your personal journey too. So I know you've spoken a little bit about just your journey of overcoming these health issues. So was there a pivotal moment when you realized that your healing journey would become your life's work?
Yes.
Okay, when was that?
Absolutely. The minute that the doctor said, "Hey, congratulations, you're cancer free."
Wow.
And when I heard those words,
Mm-hmm.
I actually made a deal with the universe. I said, "Okay, universe." I actually looked up at the ceiling in the doctor's office and I said, "Okay, universe, it's my turn now.
Uh-huh.
It's my turn now to make a difference in as many people's lives as I possibly can." We're here on this podcast. I hope that thousands of people hear this podcast and know that, if you're out there struggling, if you're out there hurting, if you're out there, wondering what's next, if you're a caregiver that's kind of lost in your journey, you're not alone.
Right.
Okay. People have been here and done this before. And so when I heard the words, "Hey, you're cancer free, you don't have to come back," the rest of my life was changed immediately. 26 years ago, it was the wild, wild west. We didn't know about processed foods as much as we do now and the inflammation that they cause. We didn't know about the food additives that are out there that cause inflammation within our bodies that are so controversial. We didn't know about genetic modifications and fertilizers and environmental factors like air quality and water quality that affect our lives on a daily basis. We didn't know about that. The studies had not been funded yet.
Right.
So we've come a long, long way in 26 years. But I can tell you that my journey was the wild, wild west. I had to learn what types of food I could tolerate, what types of food I couldn't tolerate. And more importantly, don't give in to the temptation to turn back and go back to the old lifestyle of, eating processed foods, being obese, and everything that put me into the cancer scenario, the cancer diagnosis scenario. So I've always recommended, even for people that really struggle, I've always recommended, get fresh air, get some sunlight. What changed my life forever was when I hit that 10-year mark. That was kind of the pivotal mark where I was like, okay, I'm 10 years cancer free. I had done all these different tests, all these different resources. Everything had changed for me for the better, but I still was running through tests and they were still finding little things here and there in my colon, in my digestive tract that kind of sent up red flags. I had to run tests, little growths and things. But then I started realizing, okay, well, I'm just going to keep eating healthy. So when I got that 10-year diagnosis cancer free, I was like, yes, I'm over the hump.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And the next thing I know, For my 10-year, what we call cancerversary, that's the anniversary of your cancer. I was approached to be on a television show of my own and host a television show called Thankfully Local with Chef Chuck.
Okay.
And that was on a television network called MAV TV. And I was on there for 4 seasons, sharing my journey with stomach cancer, sharing my journey and the people that I had met that grow the food and raise the livestock and raise the fish that we eat, and sharing it with a wider audience. That was awesome. That was for 4 years I did that. And it was incredible because being in front of the camera, I'm not shy in front of a camera. I love cooking. And after that 4-year time period, that was basically the time in our society where television instructional cooking turned to television reality instruction. And I really didn't like that. I wanted to instruct more, teach more people about diversifying the food in their diets, in their gut microbiome. And so that was the end of that with television. But it was a 4-year-long journey that started on my 10th year cancerversary and ended on my 14th year cancerversary. It was amazing. It was amazing 4 years of my life. We filmed all over the place, all over different farms, talking about ingredients. We had a dietitian on the show. We had farmers on the show, all kinds of folks. And it was amazing. After that, someone says, "Hey, you got to write this journey down." So I said, okay. For my 15th cancerversary, I released The Chef's Recovery, which is the book on Amazon that I wrote in 2014. And that was actually written as a love story to everyone who had assisted me over the years, and also to my loving wife, Eileen, and my children. Everybody was by my side when I wrote this book. I've got 3 kids. They're all grown now. My youngest is actually 17, turning 18. So I mean, it's like, and everybody else is already 19 and 20. So it's like, oh gosh, man, where's the time gone? But my kids grew up watching me, particularly my oldest grew up watching me. And he was our cancer scare baby. So I had a really bad cancer scare in the middle of my journey, 20 some odd years ago. And that's when my wife said, "Hey, if I can't have you, I'm gonna have a piece of you." And so that's my oldest. That's where my family came from. But it's been a joy. The Chef's Recovery is actually a story that people from all over the world, all kinds of walks of life, reached out to me over the years talking about how their lives have changed reading this book, that they're not alone. Caregivers, spouses, people with rare diagnosis, all kinds of folks that contact me and say, "Hey, this book really helped me a lot." And honestly, it just curtails my journey with a rare stomach cancer. I talk about the liquid diet. I talk about caregivers and their importance in your life. I talk about, going from liquid diet back to solid foods and back and forth and not rushing it. And I also talk about incorporating lean proteins back into my diet after I've made it through the journey of liquid diet, vegan diet, solid food, right back to, hey, how do I incorporate this without going back to the previous lifestyle of unhealthy, processed, and nasty foods? So that's the Chef Recovery. The Chef's Recovery is on Amazon. It was a bestseller by category. I actually beat out there were a lot of doctors that were, they were publishing their cancer publications on Amazon at the time. And I actually beat them out because my story, was that of the patient. And there's so many stories out there about cancer this and cancer that, but not a lot from the narrative of this is what I went through. And this is what I recommend to patients and caregivers and loved ones that have a rare diagnosis. And of course, later down the road, clients told me how inspirational just hearing that somebody like Chef Chuck has been through this, helps get them through their journey, which is kind of cool. And then that has snowballed into a career of working in homes, a career of working for people that are struggling, and it's kind of made a huge difference. But the biggest point to pinpoint psychologically where I knew I was here, I need to help other people. That's what I said. From the minute I got my diagnosis, hey, you're cancer free, I said, I'm going to help as many people as I possibly can for the remainder of my years. Yeah. And I've been at it ever since. Knock on wood. You know, it's hundreds of thousands of people that the book reached out to, because Amazon is an amazing platform.
Yeah, right.
It really is. And Amazon helped me reach out to, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, New Zealand, Australia, Japan. I mean, their platform reaches all into Europe, all over Eastern Europe. I mean, it's amazing to me how far that book went. Right. When it was just a story of me going, okay, I'm here, I've made it through, now what? Yeah. And somebody says, take that story and publish it. So I worked with a team here in Raleigh and published it. And it's, it's been out there ever since 2014. It's been great. Wow. But I mean, and then I've been private chefing, of course, that I've learned more and more and more about people and what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. Like, where does the strength lie in a caregiver, and what they can do. And so it helps them, because I say, hey, I've been here. Yeah. We call it strength through resilience and lived resilience. And that's really what it is. It's that I've lived this before, so I can help others to be able to get to the point where I am, where they're calling themselves a survivor.
Yeah, no, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations about that accomplishment. That's really incredible. And, something else I want to do with this podcast is show that, like, what helps us to heal and get better as individuals not only helps us as individuals, but also, like, as a broader, like, empowering the community. So with that, how does eating seasonally support not just the body, but also local communities and food systems?
Well, that's a great question. And I'll tell you what, I wish I could take you through the farmers markets on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
And Wednesdays and Saturdays during the season here on the East Coast. We have 2 farmers markets, but I actually encourage people if you've never been to your farmers market, if you're not even aware of where your farmers market is located, jump on the internet, whether you're at your library or if you got to borrow one of the kids' phones or something, get on the internet, Google up where your nearest farmer's market is to where you live. That is an area that is not only community-based, but you're keeping money in the community. If you can't find a farmer's market, find a cooperative grocery store. They buy from local farms, and therefore that's your little way of contributing to your local economy. So when you're talking about, like, seasonal eating, we spoke earlier about diversifying your gut microbiome. That's fantastic. But when you can couple that with eating what's in season and what's grown in season in your community where you live, it's really an amazing way to not only strengthen and heal your body from toxins and exterior toxins, but it's also a wonderful way to support your community. You learn about how food is grown. You learn from the farmers about what they're struggling with. You learn on the rainy day that you can get the better deals because no one's at the market. Things like that.
Okay.
And it's little tips that you learn. You start talking, and if you're lucky, you create a relationship with a farmer that they go, hey, what would you like for me to grow this season for you? And that's where we've gotten to the point where we have relationships with farmers that they reach out to me and they say, hey, what would you like for us to grow for you and your clients? And I can actually make suggestions like, hey, I'd love to see, I told a farmer the other day, I said, I'd love to see some white asparagus this spring. I know it's a little late, but I'd love to see some white asparagus. On it, chef, already doing it. So, okay, fantastic.
Wow.
Things like that, I'd love to see some East Coast, I'd love to see some stuff going on that you have on the West Coast going on the East Coast. So I'd love to encourage to have more year-round farmers markets that are open all year. so that
Uh-huh.
people can support their communities, but also know what's in season that they love. There's always one fruit or vegetable in
Mhm.
season throughout the year that would encourage somebody who's been on the fence about going to their neighborhood farmers market or
Okay.
supporting community supported agriculture, things like that. There's
Right.
always one fruit or vegetable that they go, "Oh, I've got a great memory about that.
Okay.
I had that when I was a child and loved it. I can't believe it's in season right now." And that's
Yeah.
what we need to encourage everyone nationwide, worldwide to do, not only to diversify your gut microbiome, but to support your community.
Mhm.
It's really a great way to support your community by supporting your farmers markets and
Mhm.
or community supported agriculture facilities. Your grocery stores that are CSA
Uh-huh.
are really amazing, and they offer your little bit of ownership in that grocery store. So you have that little bit of ownership in
Okay.
that grocery store, in that cooperative that
Mhm.
helps give back to your community.
Uh-huh.
And so those are two really phenomenal ways to keep the money flowing in your own economy.
Okay, cool. No, thank you for sharing that. And, I'd love for you to give advice to the listeners and have them start like thinking about examining their own pantries. So, what pantry staples do you believe every household should have for therapeutic cooking?
Oh, well, first of all, I mean, we touched on affordability.
Uh-huh.
So I would stress,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody is a private chef. So
Okay, right.
not everybody has the diverse pantry that I have. Um,
Okay.
but but as I told you earlier, you can
Mm-hmm.
always have staples like potatoes and sweet potatoes, root vegetables that are fairly inexpensive, that are anti-inflammatory and very useful throughout the year.
Okay.
And they're always in season. No matter where you live, there's varieties that grow that are in season where you live, no matter
Right.
what time of the year it is. So that doesn't include all the expensive stuff like
Mm-hmm.
berries and grapes and apples and oranges and things like that, citrus and things like that
Mm-hmm.
that tend to be more expensive. So the fairly inexpensive items that I would recommend that people keep in their pantries
Uh-huh.
to diversify, or maybe they're just getting started. A bottle of good cold pressed olive oil.
Oh, okay.
That is an investment to start with,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an investment in your health. We hear about the Mediterranean diet and its
Mm-hmm.
importance in cardiovascular health. I always recommend that people purchase, read the origins of the olive oil that you're
Oh,
purchasing.
okay.
Make sure it's a
Mm-hmm.
single origin, and that if it's European Union, you know that it's a good extra virgin olive oil, and you stretch that. You stretch
Mm-hmm.
that investment, and you stretch that for a month long or 2 months long, whatever you can, a tablespoon, a teaspoon at a time, whatever
Mm-hmm.
recipe you're using. It always helps to start there versus having vegetable oils, canola oils, and other inflammatory oils. If
Okay.
you want another inexpensive oil to have in the pantry that is widely used in cultures in Asia,
Mm-hmm.
I like a good virgin coconut oil,
Okay.
and that has MCT, medium chain triglycerides,
Mm-hmm.
which means it's actually, instead of harming your heart and your cardiovascular system like so many different oils do that are processed that cause inflammation, it
Mm-hmm.
actually assists in gut health and assists in digestion and assists in cardiovascular health because of the media chain triglycerides found in coconut oil. It's used in a lot of blue zones, but it's also used, blue zones being healthy societies where people live well into their 90s and 100s, triple
Okay.
digits. But it's also something that's found widely and fairly inexpensively. And
Mhm.
if you're out there really on a tight budget,
Mhm.
hey chef, it's great to hear that. But the last time I went to the grocery store, I saw olive oil for $20 a bottle, and that's just too expensive.
Right.
Or
Mhm.
I saw coconut oil for like $16 a bottle.
Right.
Hey guys, what I recommend is join a bulk purchasing club or a
Oh,
bulk
okay.
purchasing, some type of bulk food purchasing.
Mhm.
And then, of course, if you're really using food assistance, make sure that if you're using food assistance, that you talk to whoever's running the food pantry. They may have these items for you as staples that come in. And you never know until you ask. I have a friend who went to a food pantry that was going to a food pantry on a regular basis. And she finally got the nerve to ask, do we have any olive oil? Do we have any avocado oil, another oil that's anti-inflammatory? Do we have any coconut oil? And they actually had all three and loaded her down with them.
Wow.
She said, Chef, what am I going to do with all these? Well, I said, you know what you can do? You can share them with your neighbors and your friends.
Right.
Worst case scenario, they loaded you down because you had the courage to go to them and ask.
Okay.
And then always look for, virgin. Virgin is the term you need to look for.
Okay.
The other thing that I use a lot is cold pressed. Cold pressed virgin. Those are great for gut health. They're fantastic. All the studies show that those are the ways to go. They're not using any kind of machinery, any kind of heavy machinery, expeller pressing, that kind of thing with the olives or with the coconut to get the oil out. And what that means is it's more pure, it's better for your gut health, and it's better for digestion and better for your cardiovascular system. So, always check with your neighborhood pantry. Look for sales.
Okay.
So if you're just like me, you're week to week looking for how am I going to feed these kids? Look for sales. So look for bulk sales. So you may pass by a coconut oil in a large container in your grocery store shelf. This is a virgin coconut oil, just because it's very, very expensive. But then it gets on that magic sale where it's like buy one, get one. And you go, oh, wait, all of a sudden this thing went from $24 to $6 a piece if I buy one or two. It doesn't matter. Just look for your sales flyers. Look through your sales flyers. Make sure that you're visiting and you're seeing what's on sale and using that. So you may have one week where there's a cold pressed olive oil on sale where it's half price. You may have another week where coconut oil, no one's using coconut oil in the warmer months. So maybe, hey, maybe it might be time to stock up on coconut oil. And the other thing, like I said, is bulk purchasing clubs. So if you want to join a Costco or a Sam's Club or a BJ's Warehouse Club and you purchase it that way, hey, that's a great way to save money in the long run. It may be an investment to start, at like $16, $17 a bottle of extra virgin olive oil. But if you're only using a tablespoon or two at a time in a recipe, that can last you. You just keep it in the refrigerator. Same thing is true with any other. If you choose to cook with animal fats like tallow and others, the same thing is true. It's an investment. But it's something that, if you're using it a teaspoon or a tablespoon at a time in recipes, keep it in the refrigerator. It'll last you a lifetime. So it'll last you, I shouldn't say lifetime, but it'll last you a long time.
No, thank you for sharing that. And, can you walk us through a simple recipe that embodies your philosophy? So maybe something that people can try that's really simple?
Oh, yeah. Where can I start? There are so many, but I just mentioned coconut oil, okay?
Right.
So one of my favorite things to do is I live in North Carolina. We're the sweet potato capital of the world. I mean, we grow every variety of sweet potato you can imagine. One of my absolute favorite things to do is to take sweet potatoes and I will peel them and dice them really, really small. And I will cook them in a pan with a touch of coconut oil. So you saute them in the coconut oil and let them brown down a little bit. And then you add a touch of some type. I use bone broth for my clients, but you can use any kind of broth that you have available. I always encourage people, go to your butcher's shop, pick up bones and make your own stock. Because that's a very inexpensive way to create wonderful nutrition. Speaking of affordability, you can buy bones fairly inexpensively. If not, some places give them to you for free. And you can make your own bone broths. And it's an amazing, amazing thing. So you take the bone broth, the coconut oil, and the sweet potatoes, and a touch of cinnamon, and just let it reduce down and saute down and brown up in the pan. And it is just, for me, it's simplicity, but it's delicious. You can use it in any kind of recipe you can imagine. You can mash it further and use it and have it as a mash. You can use it in a bowl with like rice and inexpensive. We talked about rice and legumes, and you complete that with a sweet potato. It is it's not expensive and it's so delicious. I love the flavor of coconut, cinnamon,
Oh,
and
that
sweet
sounds
potato,
delicious.
and
That
yam,
sounds really
and or they
delicious.
call them yams in some places of the world. But
Mhm.
man, is that delicious! You take that with an Okinawan sweet potato, like they call it a purple sweet potato, or they
Mhm.
call it purple yam. Some people even call it purple potatoes, depending on where you live in the world. You take that, dice that up. It's a beautiful color, and then it gets really creamy with the coconut and
Mhm.
the cinnamon. Really, really creamy with the bone broth added at the end. Oh, it's delicious. And I have actually used it to create a recipe for clients that have a difficulty with solid food. I just take those softened sweet potatoes that have been cooked in the pan and
Mm.
puree it in a blender for a little bit and make the most delicious little
Yeah.
treat. Sweet, a little bit of savory if you put a touch of sea salt in with the bone broth, and delicious little soup for people to try.
Wow.
Or puree, if you will, for people to try that have
Mhm.
difficulty with solid food. Absolutely delicious. Simplicity at its best.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And, thank you so much for your time. I had such a wonderful time talking with you. I learned so much. But, just as we're wrapping up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So, if listeners could implement just one change this week to support their health, what would you say it would be?
Ooh, I want you to jump on the internet and
Hmm.
Google where your local farmers market is.
Oh,
Google
okay.
where your local farmers market or where your local cooperative grocery store is.
Mm.
When you go on that website, you click on that, figure out where that location is, figure out the hours, go and
Okay.
visit and just walk through. Yes, many of you are still in the wintertime climate. So you're going to
Hmm.
walk through and you're going to be like, well, there's not a lot of variety.
Right.
Pick out one or two things that look delicious to you. Take them home, Google up a recipe. May not be my recipe, but it may be another chef's
Yeah.
recipe. Google up a recipe and cook with that item. When you do little simple things like that, you change your overall way of thinking and you
Mm.
start thinking, I could do this next season. I could do this all summer. I could do this all winter. I could do this all fall. And the next thing you know, you are diversifying your menu portfolio with simple
Yeah.
things, seasonal ingredients that are grown, and you're also taking care of your local community. It's a win-win.
Right, right. No, that's wonderful. Thank you. And, thank you again for sharing your wisdom and insights. I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that our listeners will take a lot away from this conversation as well. But just lastly, how can people find you if they'd like to connect with you?
Oh, my friends, we are working on concept that I think
Uh-huh.
the whole country, if you've heard me today talking about the people that I help with different conditions, and you might be one of those people that needs help, or you might be a caregiver of one of your loved ones that's
Hmm.
been diagnosed with something like a rare cancer or autoimmune or any kind of renal, kidney, diabetes, anything like that. You want to get in touch with me.
Hmm.
Realmedicalmeals.com. Realmedicalmeals.com. It's up and live. You can take a look at sample menus on there. You can.
Hmm.
We're going to be doing a lot more blog posts in the next few weeks. You'll be able to
Wow.
read up about what we do, how we do it, where our pricing structure lies, and I can personally come and cook for you in your home if that's something that's affordable for you.
Wow.
So it's a really amazing thing. If not, you can reach out and I'll always be a resource for you at realmedicalmeals.com.
Okay.
If you're in North Carolina, thankfully localprivatechefs.com and
Hmm.
theresortchef.com are my two companies here in North Carolina. They're both private chef companies, but they both work with the Real Medical Meals system that I've developed. And
Okay.
there's pillars for that I can talk to you a little bit more about later.
Hmm.
But folks that are out there that are really, really struggling and really need help
Right.
with these diagnoses, maybe they don't even have time. Maybe they don't have time to do all the cooking and the meal prep and that kind of thing. I'm here
Hmm.
for you as a resource. Realmedicalmeals.com, thankfully localprivatechef.com, theresortchef.com, and
Yeah.
all of our social medias, all the Facebook, Instagram, all that. If you reach out, I'm here for you.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you again. You do such a beautiful work. You're such a beautiful person making positive impacts to so many people. And I'm really grateful to be connected with you. And hopefully we can stay in touch as well. But I hope you have the good rest of your day. Thank you again for sharing this platform with me today.
Denise, you're the best. Thank you so much for having me. And to everyone out there, if you need me, you know how to find me. Find me through Denise. We
Uh-huh.
would love to work with you and help as many people. Like I told you earlier,
Yeah,
this is as many this I need to help as many people as possible. That is why I
I love
survived. That's
that.
my
I really love
calling
that.
here. And I may just be able to email you some recipes, but if I make a
Yeah,
difference, then I know going into my time, whenever that is, that I've made
yeah.
as much an impact and as much a difference
No, I really
with as
love
many
that.
people. And I'm sure that's what you're doing with your platform here
Yeah,
on your podcast. It's the same
yeah.
thing, It's we're here
Yeah,
to
I
make a
appreciate that
difference. That's what
too.
we're here to
No,
do.
no, no. And I think just from like talking with you, I could tell that you're not doing it for ego or, for like fame or anything. I could
Yeah.
feel this genuine sense of really just wanting to help other people get better and heal.
It truly is my passion and has
Yeah.
been for 26 years, Denise. It
Hmm.
really is. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for, taking the time to. It was really wonderful speaking with you. Yeah. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day today.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all